today, and this discussion really will be there will be a lot of engagement between myself and the crowd because we want your input in this discussion. So mainly for this discussion, what we will be discussing is the we'll be discussing mainstreaming artificial intelligence in Caribbean internet governance, policy integration for innovation, inclusion, and accountability. And the main purpose of our session today is we'll be taking a closer look at the Caribbean Internet Governance Policy Framework or CIGPF. Before I jump into that discussion, I think I just wanted to set the stage for everyone a little bit. So we'll go through this quick presentation, but really the heart of the discussion today is the input from you all. So I'll keep this very brief before I jump into the discussion. So artificial intelligence is rapidly moving from the margins into the mainstream of digital agendas and global policy discourse, shaping how societies innovate, govern, and interact. For the Caribbean, AI presents both exciting opportunities such as advancing digital economies, improving public services, and driving local innovation, and significant challenges, including ethical risks, cybersecurity risks, data governance concerns, and gaps in current policy frameworks. So this session really sets out to explore what is possible for the region by examining these opportunities, threats, and obstacles. This discussion with our multi-stakeholder audience, the dialogue will provide critical insights to inform future iterations of this framework. So the CIGPF framework is historic. It was the first regional internet governance policy framework in the world. Since 2005, it has guided how Caribbean nations think about internet policy, how we harmonize our approaches, and how we speak with one voice in international forums. It has helped us to tackle shared challenges, improving access, building resilience into our networks, and strengthening laws around privacy, cybersecurity, and digital trade. So when we talk about updating this framework, we're really talking about updating the foundation of our region's digital future. At its core, the framework serves four main purposes. First, it provides a foundation for harmonized Caribbean internet governance, giving a shared baseline of principles and priorities that we can all build from. Second, it promotes inclusive digital transformation and equitable access. And what that means is that connectivity and innovation must benefit everyone, not just a few. Third, it supports the CARICOM Single ICT Space Initiative. And fourth, it enables Caribbean engagement in global internet policy fora, ensuring our voices are represented in spaces like IGF, WSIS, and the Global Digital Compact. So as we turn to AI and other emerging digital technologies, the question becomes, how do we evolve this framework so that it continues to provide, promote, support, and enable, while also preparing the region for opportunities and risks ahead? So the vision is very clear: a knowledge-based, digitally empowered, inclusive society with strong Caribbean identity and leadership in global digital community. The mission puts emphasis on multi-stakeholder collaboration, governments, private sector, academia, civil society, all working together to expand access, build inclusivity, and create opportunities for innovation and economic growth. So in other words, internet governance is not just about cables and data centers, it's about the people, ensuring every Caribbean citizen can participate meaningfully in a digital world. So the framework is guided in some important principles: inclusiveness, flexibility, and harmonization, promoting competitive markets, that also protects user rights, building resilience, and finally, keeping pace with international best practices so that our policies remain globally relevant. One thing that makes the framework very powerful is that it is multi-stakeholder by design. So governments, regulators, private sectors, academia, civil society, and the technical community all have a seat at the table and a role to play. So today's session, again, continues that tradition by opening the floor to you all. We're gathering the expertise and lived experiences of everyone in this room that will make the next version of this framework stronger. So these are the 6 strategic priority areas. The framework is structured around these areas: infrastructure for connectivity, technical infrastructure and operations, legal and regulatory frameworks, content development and management, public awareness and capacity building, and research. Together, these 6 areas cover most of the internet governance landscape. But as we'll discuss, there are new frontiers, particularly AI, that are not yet fully captured. So this brings us to the heart of this session. And again, my role here is not to present, although I presented for a while, but to facilitate a dialogue with you all. So this quickly summarizes the thematic areas by issues, which I will skip through. But I want to pose my first question to the audience regarding AI's inclusion into the framework. First being, is AI an internet governance issue, or does it sit under broader digital governance? And at this point, I'm happy to hear your thoughts and opinions.
Thank you, Shergaun. Good afternoon. So I'd really like to also encourage this session to be interactive, to please share your views. We welcome them. But I wanted to indicate that the CTU, just over about 4 weeks ago, launched the Caribbean AI Task Force. It's a multi-stakeholder body. We are working with a number of global experts to focus the attention on the issues that are important to us, so that we, as with all of these new technological innovations, to ensure that we are not left behind. Already there are billions and billions of dollars being invested in AI development in the large developed countries. We see companies, like OpenAI, with valuations of $500 billion. And these companies, and for us in the region, if we look at AI in the framework of the Internet Governance Policy Framework, almost every pillar is relevant. So we talk about infrastructure, and it's not so much broadband, even though that's important. You have to be connected. But when we talk about AI, we're talking about data centers and the capacity to process large data sets, to ensure the integrity and sovereignty of that data, and so on. So how do we build the proper infrastructure that we need in the region to ensure our digital sovereignty? Capacity building also is another issue. How do we ensure that our young people in particular, but the population in general, but how do we ensure that they have the capacity and that they, I think it was mentioned that we produce as a rather than consume technology, that the jobs that are being displaced by artificial intelligence, that there is an opportunity as well for job creation within the Caribbean. We are looking at data governance policy framework as well to address the issues of data sovereignty and data governance within the Caribbean. And that is something that we will take to our member states when we meet in Jamaica in a few weeks' time. We also are concerned about biases within AI because a lot of these models are trained outside of the region, outside of our culture, and therefore how do we ensure that or guard against biases in terms of how our data is processed. Trust and governance in these systems is something that we also need to look at. And I would say above all, from where we sit at the regional level, to ensure that there is coordination and collaboration within the Caribbean member states, of course, including Cuba and all of the other CTU member states, ensure that we work together to address any capacity gaps, whether it's infrastructure or skills. So I just wanted to, I would say it within that context. As to whether it falls under internet governance or broader digital governance, I think there's a sense that it goes beyond the internet. We see for example, in the Global Digital Compact, a sharp focus on artificial intelligence and the need to establish a global governance framework for responsible AI development. So I would say it goes beyond mere internet governance issues, but it is still relevant within the context of the internet governance policy framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that contribution, Ashi.
Well, I want to address the question. I think the first one is, does IA fall under, not fail?
That's good catch.
Okay. As the Secretary General was just saying, you know, and also as Shengetai said in the first session, the capacity building session, the first day, even then, even during WSIS in 2003, 2005, the concept of internet governance, because that was defined in the working group of internet governance, there were two lines of thoughts. The restricted line of thought that frame internet governance only in the critical resources of internet, numbers and addresses and names, and the wide approach to internet governance that included everything else that have to do with policy, have to do with the impact, have to do with some other things. So even then, the concept of internet, although it had the word internet, it went beyond internet, because the services that are supported there, the ICT that supports the internet itself, it was all considered that was part of the process that needed this concept of governance. Now, going to the 20-year review, there have been even voices that want to change, they want to change even the name of the Internet Governance Forum. There were proposals to put the Digital Governance Forum or something like that. Of course, there's some reluctance to do that because Internet Governance Forum is already a sort of a trademark that has been embedded, you know, in the conscience of maybe. But there's the understanding, and as a matter of fact, that is happening, and I'm sure that it happens also in the regional one. In the global IGF, not only we discuss topics about internet, artificial intelligence discussed there, cybersecurity, and many other things, and data governance is the new thing. So instead of going the route of having independent processes, there's a line of thought that many people want to see as a more integrated approach towards the governance of the digital world, of the digital realm, in which, of course, all these emerging technologies has a special place, and it should have maybe a special treatment. You know that now, in the case of AI, there's this proposal to create this global expert group, but it's still pending the more executive mechanisms in which the government will be. So I think that in general sense, today, when we talk about internet governance, we should think of the other emerging technologies that are part and are supported in the internet. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a great point. And going back a little bit before I get to that contribution as well, SJ, I think you brought up a great point regarding, for example, the amount of investment that goes into companies like OpenAI. Like, as a private company, to be valued at 500 billion, if you think about it just from an economic perspective, and investors are still want to invest at that price point. If you're willing to invest at a $500 billion price point, right now the company with the largest market cap in the world, Microsoft, NVIDIA, is valued at about $4 trillion, right? If you, as an investor, venture capital, are still thinking about investing in a company like OpenAI, at that point, it's not even about venture type returns. They just understand that these companies will have such a massive influence on our daily lives moving forward that it's almost a no-brainer to invest. It's not even about, for them, it's no longer about necessarily getting that 100 times multiple on their investment. It's not about getting that 10 times multiple on your investment anymore. It's just knowing that this company at this point is almost too big to fail. That's why you're making this investment now, because it's more about control rather than necessarily at that point economic gain. So I think you brought a great point there, that there's a reason that so much investment is going towards these AI companies. And to your point, I think, and that just emphasizes your point even more, that at this point it's no longer we could look at it in a siloed approach and say, AI is just a technology. Right now it's almost becoming a new way of working, a new way of thinking, a new way of interacting with technology. So great points, great contributions. Would anybody else like to raise a point? I move on to the third question, because I think our contributions touched on whether it should be treated as a standalone or integrated. But I wanted to know whether anybody in the audience had any thoughts as to whether what are the most urgent AI-related gaps we need to address in the Caribbean context? Infrastructure, skills, laws, ethics, or is it something else? Is it healthcare? Is it education?
About the 6 strategic areas.
Yeah, so the 6 strategic areas, let me pull them up.
So my answer to it is that AI can be included in all the 6 strategic areas.
What do you think what do you think might be the most urgent gap that we need to address in the Caribbean's context? Is it healthcare? Is it law? Is it education?
Health, education, and also infrastructure, connectivity are some of those gaps we have in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And also because the Caribbean is we always have issue of disaster, so we could look into disaster management as well too, which is a broad area in the Caribbean.
Thank you. I agree. And if any, Shani?
Yes. I would say legal frameworks, because AI runs on data, but how is that data being acquired? Is it legally acquired with the permission of essentially the owners of that data, especially given the number of data breaches we have currently happening in the region?
Yeah, so some heavy emphasis on data ownership.
In the Caribbean now you have like data protection laws, which a lot of the Caribbean islands is implemented now. With data protection and the use of AI, as she mentioned in terms of using it in legal framework and enforcement, then we had to consider in that area in terms of data protection. In terms of personal data, how do we protect people and the data?
Yeah, I think many of the AI companies today have already, scraped so much of the users' data that's available on the internet. At this point, it's a game to almost play catch up as to like what data have they used and what data have they not used yet to train their models. And I think that's a great point that you raise regarding the protection of our user data when it comes to training these AI models. And I think it also presents itself as an opportunity for Caribbean, maybe not businesses, but institutions to find a way to leverage our data to be used in these models, but also being compensated for their use as well. So great point. And also, if anyone has some practical recommendations that we should feed into the next version of the framework that we did not touch on earlier, would be happy to get your contribution as well. Well, it doesn't seem like there are any more contributions. Anybody over here? No? Yes? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I think we kind of wrap up this session. Thank you so much for engaging. Thank you so much for your contributions. It will all be taken into consideration, as we said, in the next version of this framework. So thank you for putting those ideas out there, and we appreciate your contribution to that. And with that, that was the final session of today. Again, thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. And I hope and we hope that you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias por este encuentro, un tema que es fundamental.
Thank you very much for this meeting. I would like to make some announcements for the rest of this day. It is important because today we have a function at 9 p.m. sharp. I say it again, at 9 p.m. at the Cosmopolitan Terrace of the Red Bar in floor 10. They will have music to enjoy Cuban culture. Tomorrow we will resume the session in this room. We'll have panels about digital transformation in Cuba with the important participation of the Cuban delegation. Thank you very much. And at 9 a.m., please, sharp, at 9 a.m., we will meet again. Enjoy the evening.